First tonight, President Trump addressing the fears over the spread of the coronavirus, defending his administration's response after criticism that they weren't doing enough.
And the CDC now confirms a total of 15 cases nationwide. 11 Alive's Ellen Lopez now joins us here in the studio with what is next in the federal response.
Yeah, Jeff, Jennifer, we just heard from President Trump about an hour ago. He addressed the public from the White House, trying to ease concerns over a potential outbreak here in the United States. President Trump spoke about the large number of deaths related to the flu here in the United States compared to no deaths from coronavirus here. He says that it's a little bit different, but the U.S. has coronavirus well under control. Still, the CDC says the spread of the virus is inevitable. The president said he is putting Vice President Mike Pence in charge of the administration's response to the virus. As you mentioned there's a total of 15 cases confirmed here in the United States, none here in Georgia. Now, the president said, though, that every aspect of our society should be prepared, but added that the risk to Americans here is very low.
Because of all we've done, the risk to the American people remains very low. We're ready to adapt, and we're ready to do whatever we have to as the disease spreads, if it spreads.
The White House is asking Congress for $2.5 billion to help with funds for the vaccine and other protective equipment. During the briefing, public health officials say that a vaccine could be developed within about a year.